at face value, the story of the Haggadah Shel Pesach is a story of the exodus of the people of Israel way back when, from bondage from Egypt, and how they got out and went to the land of Israel and became a people. But when we read it, there's a lot more than history in it. There's actually something contemporary. There's a message that applies to us in our lives today. And here's an example. In the Haggadah, we say that the Egyptians embittered the lives of our fathers in Egypt. And actually we say it every day during davening, you saw the poverty and the torture of our fathers in Egypt. On a historic level, it means our fathers, our forefathers, were in Egypt, they were enslaved, and they were suffering in the hands of the Egyptians. But the deeper explanation is, our fathers, original forefathers, the patriarchs, are Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Mind you, they themselves were actually, in a certain sense, suffering in Mitzrayim, because the covenant which of the Bris Bein Absarim that originally got Avram, that he was, so to speak, revealed to, that his children would be taken out to Egypt, was actually the beginning of the bondage. So that was from when Yitzchak was born, the 400 years actually began. So Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov are considered to also have suffered in Egypt. Now those three, Avoseinu, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, each represents another midah, another attribute. Abraham is the midah of chesed. He was all about love and kindness and inviting guests and so on. Yitzchak is the midah of gevura, of severity, of fear, pachad Yitzchak, the fear of Yitzchak. And Yaakov is the attribute of compassion and mercy. Yaakov blends the chesed and the gvura of his father. Compassion is an element of both. You love someone and you have awe together. That's compassion. Now our midos, our primary emotions, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Aviseinu, are hijacked and taken into captivity in Mitzrayim. And that's something that each one of us can relate to, when you'll notice on yourself that you don't have any control of your emotions, when you notice that you're enslaved and that your love becomes an addiction. So you love and you have taivas and you have desires that you're not able to control. And Yitzchak is when your fears have become anxieties and worries and concerns, and you are incessantly and obsessively worried about anything. And Yaakov is Rahmanus, when sometimes you have compassion over the wrong things, and you see it all over, where people don't know what to be compassionate about, where compassion's gone wrong. So Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov are the midas, the attributes of a person when they are in Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim means constraints. Mitzrayim is the land of Egypt, but the word Mitzrayim in Hebrew is Meitzara, which means borders, limitations, constraints. So we are all lost and stuck in the sense of constraints. Our midas, our emotions, are limited, and the reason is because we are in Mitzrayim. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy, which means you're stuck in a particular perspective. So you tell yourself a narrative of your life, and that's why we get lost in our own sense of Mitzrayim. And that's why we don't know how to escape these addictions and anxieties that we have, and we're stuck in them forever, forever and ever. And the solution is this. The solution is, how do we get out of Mitzrayim? It's when Hashem Nigla Aleim Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when God appears to you. That means when you successfully reveal your emunah, you discover a deeper perspective inside you, one that allows you to overcome your challenges. This week I was sitting at a Sheva Brachas of a very, very good friend, and a special chassan. So the bridegroom is originally, his parents are from communist Russia. And I always marvel at how you see a success over 70 years of communism, when you get this kid who's just like back in the fold. So I asked the father who was sitting at the Sheva Brachas, I said, tell me, what kind of education did you grow up with? What kind of Jewish education? And he says, absolutely nothing, nada. We didn't have any semblance of Judaism. We didn't know about Yom Kippur, and we didn't have a bris. I had a bris when I was in my 20s already, much later on. His son also had a bris later on. And I asked him, how does someone who had zero connection, grew up with nothing, how do you get to become observant? How do you do this when you were totally secular? And he looked me in the eye and he said, we were not secular. That's your mistake. You see, we may not have been observant. We may not have kept any of the mitzvahs, but we were not secular. Because when I went to school, and I was named very clearly the Jid, and when I was in the army subsequently, and they looked at me and they said, the Jid, I wore that Jid badge, the badge of a Jew, proudly. We were not secular. We were very spiritual. And as soon as we had the opportunity and we discovered what spirituality was and how to express spirituality, that immediately triggered a reaction. And so we came back. That's who we are. Because the spirituality was always inherent in us. And I think that's really what each of us also has. If you're stuck and unable to express yourself, and the midas, the emotions, are lost, well, what we want to do is discover the inner spirituality that we always have. Every one of us has emunah, has a sense of connection to God naturally built into our system. What we want to do is be able to reveal that. So how do you reveal that? How do you discover the spirituality? It's by telling yourself a new narrative. The narrative of the story of Mitzrayim is that there was this people, and God chose this people, and he said, guys, I am going to give you a soul, a neshama. I'm going to choose you. You're going to be my chosen people at Matan Torah when I give you the Torah. And I'm going to reveal to you there's one God, Hashem Echad, and nothing else exists. And your mission in life is to connect and reveal that Hashem Echad, that oneness of God, the world over. Every day as we reflect on that message and we discover that we're not what we thought we were. We thought we were like everybody else, just going about our rosy lives, just living life. And we discover that actually we're very holy, that we have a holy mission. And the more you reflect on that and you meditate and you realize what that is, so automatically you escape your avosenu, your fathers, your emotions, escape the state of Mitzrayim that they're in. Sometimes the only reason why I can't escape is because I'm lost, I'm hijacked by a perspective. So I believe I'm supposed to be successful, and I'm not successful. That bothers me. But the moment I realize that no, God believes in you, and he put you in the situation that he put you in for a reason, and he's still there, he's got your back, he cares for you, that itself allows us to easily escape from Mitzrayim. And that's the goal of hagada, to be able to truly escape our limitations and discover a brand new story we never knew existed.